On the Jacob Beer Show, I am so happy to have on TJ Ott, or as I should say, Captain TJ Ott, who's the captain of the Hot Tuna. There you are. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. We're just kind of down the boats doing some boat stuff, and I just brought one of the dogs back from the vet. She's got some allergies, and we're just kind of hanging. I mean,
Awesome.
we're closed down right now, so we can't actively fish. We met our quota, so we're done. We're done till there's some more quota.
And I know all about that from the show. Sounds very familiar, as well as a lot of people listening would be like, "Yep, we know what those moments are like." Well, I don't know because I'm not personally a fisherman, but tell us a little bit. You're from the Boston area, of course. You've grown up on the East Coast your entire life. You became a fisherman. You've been on the show Wicked Tuna now for gosh, how many years? Too many for
I
me to
think,
count.
yeah, it's 10 or 11, maybe
10 or 11.
up there. I'm getting old.
Well, I appreciate you coming on a lot, but so take me through a little bit. What is it like going out there when the cameras aren't there and you're just doing a charter? What is it kind of like, in those moments where it's not as high pressure? I think it's an interesting
Mm,
thing that you haven't discussed yet. So what's that kind of
Um, I'll be honest with you. The camera crew is just there to really capture what happens. What we do or how we approach our day isn't really decided on what they do. So I guess in the beginning, when you first start doing the show, you're, I mean, anytime someone's going to come on your boat with a camera, you're going to be, it's awkward. Like, especially something you've never done, if you never wore a microphone or been filmed before. But at this point in it, I'm not gonna say I forget the guy is there and I'm mic'd up, but really you almost have to because you have to focus on your job, which is the first and most importantly to catch fish. I mean, yes, we are filming a show and we are making a product to deliver to people across the globe, but if we don't catch the fish and we don't create the content, then that product isn't delivered and it's not as good as it can be if it's not as organic and as natural. So um I don't know really where the question started as far as like, is it awkward with them or how do I get used to it? But it's just, you have to be used to it at this point. I think the only way you can really deliver and do your best is just to be very relaxed. And again, I've done it for 10 or 11 years, and a lot of the camera guys I've had become like family. So
interesting? And I just got to ask, do you like going down south to fish, or is your favorite spot all the way up north and wonderful Gloucester off of uh, I gotta ask
my
that question.
favorite, no, it's a great question. My favorite spot is wherever the most fish are and on that particular day. But to really answer your question, I love North Carolina. I The fishing's incredible. It's world class. The people are world class. I have some dear, dear friends down there who I still keep in touch with, on a weekly basis. When I go back and forth to Florida, I stop there to see some of these people. The only downfall of North Carolina is the outer bar and crossing that bar, and that's an issue.
So it really is as bad as it sounds. It's
It's
not all
worse.
reality.
I'd honestly have to say it's worse than it's portrayed, and
Wow.
it's portrayed very, very well. But I don't think any camera, any production company, anything, any angle of a camera, any audio can really, until you're on a bar, until you're on a boat rather, crossing that bar in the dark, not knowing what's ahead of you, or knowing what's ahead of you and anticipating because once you commit and you get into it and you're in that outer bar and you're in that surf, you're committed. You can't just turn around, like you're committed. So to get back to the beginning of your question, I love North Carolina, but Gloucester is a magical place. Gloucester has an energy about it. Gloucester, we're America's oldest seaport here, and I mean, I don't know if I could flip this. I mean, can I flip this?
You might
I
be
don't know.
able
I'll
to.
figure it out later. But we're America's oldest seaport, and when you come through this break wall and you get into this inner harbor, you can feel the history of this place. And the thing about Gloucester, and this is where the fishing is different between Gloucester and North Carolina. In Gloucester, we can go to 20 different places on any given day. I can go down to the southwest corner of Stellwagen. I can go to South Jeffries. I can go up to Northern Jeffries. I can go to the inshore bottom off Maine. I can go to Platts Bank. I can go to Fipponese. I can go to Georges Bank. I can go to Cape Cod Bay. There's so many rights and lefts you can make. Where in North Carolina, you need to be in that small area those fish are in that moment. So say guys are like, hey, we're on the 580 or the 600. If you don't get to the 580 or the 600, or let's say the point, which was highlighted on the show a lot, if you don't get right in on that bite where those fish are in that moment, you're not going to catch one. Where I could be 65 miles north of Gloucester on a hump in Maine, and there could be a guy 80 miles away from me off a Peaked Hill bar off the backside of Provincetown, Cape Cod, and we could both catch fish in the same day. So when it comes down to bluefin fishing, I think Gloucester is really the mecca. And I'm not going to say it's the best bluefin fishing in the world, because there's plenty of places. Nova Scotia has great bluefin fishing. Prince Edward Island, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. There's plenty of places
High up into
bluefin.
Maine a little bit.
But there's not many places, if you look at it as a central hub, where you can leave the harbor and say, am I going left? Am I going right? Am I going north, south, east? What, like, you have so many options. And on any given day, a lot of those options could be the right call. It's funny because the last day I fished, I pulled out of the harbor and I almost made a left. And I almost went up to a spot called the first hole. And I said, you know what? I'm going to keep going down to Stellwagen. I'm going to go to, the shallow ground up on the northwest corner of the high ground. And I went there and I caught one. Now, that's not to say I couldn't have went to the first hole and caught one. I could have, maybe. But in that day, I just, and that's why Gloucester is such a special place. And I've had friends fish with me here over the years, and I've had people from, all over the world come and hang out. Gloucester is America's oldest seaport for a reason. It's a very, very special place, and it's a place I hold very near and dear to my heart, and I'm very fortunate to get to live here and fish out of here.
Appreciate it. Wow, that's really unique that you're sharing, to hear more about that. And people who might just flip on the show might just know about Georges Bank, not all the ones that you mentioned. So I appreciate you talking about that. I got to ask, is it ever tough being recognizable in public? Here you guys were, especially I'm going to say the original 5, others have come and gone, knowing like, hey, there's a guy watching the show in Scotland. There's a guy at Purdue University watching the show. Is it like ever intimidating at times? Like, okay, I was this fisherman. Sure, I'm making good money and everything, but like, now I'm kind of like a mini Kim Kardashian, Is it tough dealing with that?
Well, I mean, if I was worried about it, I could shave my head and shave my beard, right? And not be the guy, with dreadlocks and a beard. I don't really think much about it, to be honest with you. I've met some great people because of it. I'm very welcoming. If you're nice, I'm nice. If you're not nice, then I won't be like it. To me, the cool thing about any industry, well, fishing in general is, especially bluefin fishing, there's guys that have 80-foot Vikings that do it, 90-foot Vikings, and there's guys that have little skiffs that do it. It's people from the street and people that are elite, and everyone is kind of in it because of the love of it. And that's bluefin tuna fishing is a community. And regardless of what your stature is or how much money you have or what type of boat you have, the passion is the same, I think, on every boat. So as far as the recognizable thing, I'm just a fisherman that, got a phone call one day to do this. And there was probably other guys that could have got a phone call to do it, but I was one of the guys, and I'm very fortunate and I love it. And I'm very blessed that I get to share what I do in 170 plus countries across the globe. And I love it. I love people get to get a glimpse into my life and to my family and my dogs and what we love. But at the end of the day, I'm always just going to be a fisherman. So this is just a moment in my life that is being captured. But, as far as like, you're saying celebrity thing, I don't consider myself a celebrity. I'd rather be out on the boat fishing every
Awesome
day,
to
whether
hear.
I'm in Key West or Gloucester. Or,
That's what we love to see.
I mean, the other day I took the boat down to Nantucket. I mean, and I can tell you right now, I'm in the middle of renovating my house in Gloucester, and I'm sleeping on my boat. So that's how much I
Wow.
like
So
being on
that's
the
the other
boat.
question I wanted to ask. I don't want to keep you for too long.
No, you're right.
But so how often are you actually on the boat when you're in South Carolina or my bad, North
Yeah,
Carolina? Are you ever in a hotel room where you're like, hey, I just want to get off the boat and go to like a Holiday Inn for the
I
night
wish I could
since
flip this for you.
or are you always in your boat like when you're especially in Outer Banks? Is that really your
Right
home,
there.
not just for the show?
So there's the dogs right there, if you can see them.
Wow. I never thought I'd see the dogs that close up in
Up
a
there.
call.
So I'm on the Badfish right now, but
You do live on
I've
the boat when you're
probably
in
lived
North
on the
Carolina.
boat in the last 20 years of my life. I'd say I've lived on the boat just as much as if I lived anywhere. So I have a home in Key West, Florida. And I have a home in Gloucester, but my home in Gloucester is currently, getting renovated, and I've just been living on the boat, traveling with the dogs and doing all that stuff. So I, the boat. It's not a fancy boat by any means. It's it's a very livable
I like it better
work
than the
boat.
Odyssey, and I can say that because I've had Ralph on the show.
Well, that's not a very livable boat. I mean, you could live on that though. I mean, that's the thing. But I have three dogs, and actually I just got another dog. So, um, you know, the boat has plenty of amenities. We've got a Starlink now, so we have internet. We have air conditionings. I mean, it's not a yacht, but I never get as good night's sleep as I do on the boat.
Interesting. Wow.
I have no. I mean,
As
if you told
somebody
me tomorrow
who's
you want to
living
go on
in
the
a
boat for
no
the rest of your
AC
life,
dorm unit
well,
right now on campus at Purdue, it's a
there
tough
you go.
adjustment from the home life. But I guess now after this, I can make it on a boat. Couple other questions I have, three that I can think of that really come to mind, and I always like to close with your advice, I guess, for maybe people who like fishing. The one that I wanted to ask was, do you have a favorite fishing show besides Wicked Tuna? Do you like Deadliest Catch?
I'll be honest with you. I like Deadliest Catch. I mean, it's a hard fishery. Wild Bill's actually a good friend of ours. We're good friends with Bill. We like Bill a lot. Bill's fished with us in Key West. Um, but I've always said, when it comes to fishing, it's best to be a well-rounded fisherman, and I get as much joy out of catching flag yellowtail snapper in Key West as I do catching giant bluefin tuna. And so to get back to your question, if I had to narrow it down to one favorite fishing show of all time, it would be the Spanish Fly with Jose Wehebe, which is a show I watched when I grew up as a kid. And the reason for that is because one, he was a phenomenal fisherman, but he explained and you felt like you were kind of on the boat there with him. And he was out of Key West. He was a local Key West guide who kind of broke out of that and traveled and went to different places and caught fish everywhere he went. But a lot of my life is based in Key West, and I live in Key West, and I do similar fishing that he did, and I go to similar spots he went to, and watching that show, it really embodies everything that I love about fishing. It's not just about it's not about just going and catching the fish. It's about the moments and the lifestyle and the friends you make along the way. And Jose was the king of that. So I think many fishing shows will come and go, but as far as that goes, I think Jose will always be the king when it comes to the fishing shows.
I would tend to agree with that argument. And then let's see, what would you say is a fun fact about yourself and something that you're scared of that you've never told before? Is it big choppy seas? Is it blood coming on you? What?
No,
Okay. I just gotta ask. Some people are like, yeah, I do it for a living, but it still gets me every single time. So what is that moment for you?
no, nothing as far as the bluefin fishing scares me, to be honest with you.
Do sharks scare you ever? Like
Mm,
when I cut it?
I mean, I wouldn't go swimming off Cape Cod with the seal. I mean, no, yeah, of course, I respect everything in the ocean. I mean, I had to jump in the water a couple of years ago after one of the dogs, and in that particular spot, we were fighting a fish. There's a lot of sharks, but rough seas, yeah. I always rest on the side of caution when it comes to being a captain and navigating. And over the years, that's kind of got me sometimes pegged a reputation as being maybe, lazy, but it's not late. I mean, if you look at the show and you look at the guys that have pushed the envelope and done stupid things, they've won stupid prizes. And I'm never gonna put my boat or my guys in that situation. I mean, you look like a guy like Tyler, he's done stupid stuff over the years and he's paid for it. You look at Bobby on the Really Bugging in North Carolina. I mean, he almost died like 3 or 4 times, right? So if you keep rolling the dice and playing that game, you're going to get bit. And nowadays with forecast and just everything we
Starlink.
have to go on, yeah, we have so much information being given to us that we really know what the weather's going to do. And yes, have I been out there? There have been days where I went and other guys didn't, and we caught them, and it was like, wow, they really messed this forecast up. But I would say 85% of the time they get the forecast pretty right. And if you pay attention to the apps, because there's so many apps now between Windy and fish weather and all that, and Wind Finder and even NOAA. I mean, you know what's coming, right? If they're forecasting 35 northeast, you probably know 35 northeast is coming. It might come an hour or two early, it might come an hour or two later, but your window of opportunity is so small. The guys that, and the funny thing about that is this, I've been in restaurants the night before where it's supposed to go 40, 50 northeast the next morning. They say, we're going. I'm like, you're not going. And oh, we're going. And then I wake up the next morning, I see their boat at the dock. So
Wow.
that's been kind of, if you let ego cloud your judgment in this fishery, you're going to blow your windows out real quick.
Good point. Interesting. And then two other questions. One is, what is something that we will likely see in the next season? Can you give us any hints?
Season 13. Wait, season we just filmed?
Yes.
Um,
I don't think National Geographic is going to check my show out, luckily. So,
I will tell you this. We just wrapped filming a week ago, and what you're going to see this year in particular, off of Gloucester, you're going to see a lot of big fish,
good to
like
hear.
very close to home. The fish we had locally were very big this year.
So, no far, far out voyages where you get straight into a Dave Marciano or nothing like that.
No. I mean, I don't know. He might have done some dumb things. He's usually good for a couple dumb things a year, but I don't know. I don't really pay much attention to what he
And you
does.
didn't find a banana on your boat this year either, correct?
No, I mean, I don't have any problem with bananas. I'll gladly
That's
eat
the
a
other
banana
thing I
on a
do.
boat.
This just came to mind because of that. Do they ever do people ever leave a note on your boat at the dock and say I love you or I hate you? Does that ever happen?
Um,
Or I
I've
would
gotten
assume it's
mostly
probably nice compliments because it's the fishing community.
I've gotten mostly positive notes. Yeah, I've never gotten any hate mail.
Awesome.
I actually got a note one time in Morehead City, North Carolina. It was like a love letter, and it actually turned out it was a friend of mine, this girl who's a dear friend. She actually did it, and just to mess with me. So
Wow. And then kind of my last thing to close up is, and I guess I'm not saying advice is in because not everybody wants to be a tuna fisherman. Some want to go crabbing in even colder weather and even choppier weather. But what kind of advice would you have for the average kid who maybe is not book smart? Maybe college isn't for them. Maybe their dad's, been a union carpenter. They're like, hey, I only live 30 miles from New Hampshire or something like that. And they're maybe interested in the fishing. What would you tell them? Would you tell them to go to school still, or would you tell them to go to trade school, or would you say, hey, try to join a charter boat and be a deckhand for years? What
I
would your
would
advice
say
be on that?
go to trade school. There are so many trades and so many things that we need right now in this period of our lives or of the United States, where there's so many trades that are lacking that we don't have access to. And I believe in college. I believe in all that. I believe in bettering your education and knowledge and all that. But I feel like if that's not what you like to do, and there's something you want to focus in as far as a trade goes, then focus on it and channel your energy into that. Everyone has something they're good at. They just have to find it and focus. And even if it's fishing, it's fishing. But remember, fishing's not an easy, with fishing comes a lot of expenses and a lot of bills.
Sure.
These boats aren't cheap. The word boat stands for break out another 1,000 on
One
a daily
last
basis.
question, if you don't mind me asking, how much is it to fill up gas right now? And that's a closing question.
All right. So I went,
To
I
fully
can tell you
fuel
very
it up,
easily. I went and got 500 gallons of diesel the other day, about 3 days ago, and it was $2,000.
$2,000. And how much was it? And I'm not trying to get political. How much was it all the way back when the show first started filming? I'm just curious.
Oh,
That was like a decade ago.
I'd say back when the show first started filming,
2010,
that could have been $700.
$700. Okay, so about $13 in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And I'm not trying to blame no politicians to get that involved because we've had 3 presidents in that time. But I just
No,
wondered how much fuel costed. Wow. And we won't even get into debates or
I can
anything
tell
like
you. I
that.
mean, I'll leave you with this. I can tell you when you get back to your trade school stuff and all that, and then that question: mechanics, carpenters, boat builders, all that stuff is lacking, and there's a need for it. And those guys will always, always, always. You're always going to need a mechanic, a boat mechanic, a diesel mechanic, a fiberglass guy, a paint guy, and the rates on those guys are going up. And and you know what? Their rates can go up because they're needed. So if there are, guys your age or girls your age that don't really want to do the college thing and they want to get into trade school, well, you could make a very good living at it in many different demographics.
Appreciate that advice. So hopefully people listening, girls and boys, will take that to heart if that's for them.
Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the Jacob Buer Show today. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there. Stay positive out there. And we look forward to seeing many good moments on the show. And we hope to keep going on for quite a long time so that when I need to take a break from studying, I can watch that.
All right. Have a good day, buddy. See ya.
Thank you so much.
Take care.